So I'm sitting here. A guy came here, was smoking and was spitting all over the floor. That's like I believe that's something with the spit. It's very hard for me to zoom in. I don't want to go next to it. Just trying to zoom in. It's very hard to zoom. Yes, oh, there's a spit right there. I don't know if it's working for the transit or not. Let me try and go closer. So, so they harass me, bother me everywhere. As a Nigerian, the lawyers won't take my case. My mother has been killed. She was saying before she died, her daughters who were born in America were taunting her. Trying to kill us for life insurance policy scam. So that's it. That's the mucus. The guy was smoking and dirtying up the floor with dirty tissue. He might be an MTA worker. If I try to use the bathroom, they harass me. So this is the Millennium Hotel. Anywhere I'm at, they taunt me. They taunt me like they're trying to kill me. They said this judge nearly also had been set up by the MTA because they had the program to arrest homeless and lock us up in a psychiatric hospital. After my mother's daughters did that to my mother, our daughters are born in America, but I'm for, and my mother was saying she had to go live with them in Pennsylvania because the police took me and my mother's home on Staten Island, and every Ghana was trying to help us in the court with the court papers, and the first one I took every Ghana did in 2014. So my mother went and lived with us in Pennsylvania, and she said as soon as she got there also, those girls were trying to kill Abolani and Flora. And she said that Abolani was putting drugs in her food, like counterfeit poison. Then my mother came back to New York to go to the hospital. She went to the hospital alone, and my mother was shocked when those boys came to the same hospital days later, even though my mother didn't tell them what hospital she was in New York. And they were able to locate the hospital called Bellevue, where my mother was in. They said they were taunting her still, trolling her like I'm being trolled. People come and be spitting next to me. They said there's a disease called Legionnaires now. I don't know how, but people are dying from it. It's a respiratory illness. If I try to use the bathroom at Stanton Ferry, I just went there yesterday, Stanton Ferry, August 14, 2025. And the black American is a lesbian-looking black American janitor that always bothers me along beside some of the workers there, black Americans. Went and locked up the extra stalls, and there was like a stampede, and all the remaining stalls were occupied, and they put a child, to block the way. When one of the stalls became vacant, they put a child stroller with a child in it to block the way. So they always do that. Any bathroom I try to use, there's some bathrooms in this neighborhood also called the Pier 25 and Washington Market Park bathroom. They'll go and put the child stroller in my way, so I won't be able to get into the bathroom. I won't be able to get into the vacant store. They put the child, leave a child in a stroller in the hallway of the bathroom, and the nanny or the caretaker of the child will go and hide in the stall and lock the door and leave the child, abandon the child unsupervised. I always have to call the police that they're leaving children unsupervised around me, and it's very hard for me to get into the bathroom with my belonging also because I'm homeless. And then the police will threaten me to stop calling them. That's not that serious. I'm like, no, we leaving a child unsupervised. It's serious. I don't want to be next to the child unsupervised. They'll leave the child on the over of the bathroom unsupervised. They'll go and hide in the stalls, lock the door. The guardian or the nanny, usually they use the Jamaican nannies, to try to fight me in the bathroom. And at some point, they were having little kids throw snowballs at me close to this area at a park called Theatre Park, and they have the janitors threaten me. So I called 911 around 2022. Said, look, I don't know if I'm being set up for extortion, but I'm having these people hire little kids to taunt me, to make me look like, they said people play that kind of game a lot in America. They hire little kids, or criminals hire little kids to go and commit crimes, rob the store, whatever. They said usually the criminal cases against kids that get diverted to family court, where the kid may not receive any punishment, and if they deem it as just the child being unruly, so this is what is going on. I'm being taunted. This Eric Adams is a Black American mayor, and his family friend was killed in Ghana while he was trying to help me, so since then, it's like he wants me killed also. Since some Black American take it personal against us Africans, because they believe our ancestors sold their ancestors to slavery, and they engage in reverse discrimination. So since he became mayor, he's been bringing policies that killed his family friend. They said the family friend was selling cigarettes on the street allegedly, and the police was trying to give him a ticket, because you can't really arrest somebody for selling a ticket. But you can give them a ticket, but the police decided to lock him up in a psychiatric ward instead. And he didn't want to go to the psychiatric ward. So that's why they choked him dead. So they've been trying to set up there have been Black Americans and also this Me Too group. Because I approached this Me Too group after Ghana was killed. That the police took my home and sexually abused me in my home, and while taking me and my mother's home on Staten Island. And I said then I filed a lawsuit, and Ghana was going to be helping me with the coffee first. And right where I talked with Ghana about the case, I was recording Ghana on Bay Street and Victor Boulevard. Weeks later, they went and choked Ghana dead. And I asked the Me Too lawyer, can you please help me with the case against the police for sexual harassment? And she said, even though she does sexual harassment cases, she said she can't go against the police at that time, because she needs R. Kelly and Weinstein arrested, convicted. I said, if she goes against the police, they wouldn't want to take the case. So that Me Too lawyer was bribing the police by covering up Eric Garner's death and not helping me. And since then, a guy named Jordan Neely, he's a Black American homeless. They said he's been homeless for a long time. His own mother was killed also. I said, the people are alleging somebody must have been bothering him, because they were bothering a lot of us homeless. So he went on the train to complain he's tired about life, and said a white guy snuck behind him and choked him dead. Me also, they went and locked me up in a psychiatric hospital. They introduced a program called Top 50, in which they were just going to be locking up homeless, starting with 50 homeless they deemed most dangerous, and they put me in that secret list in 2019. As soon as they introduced that program, they locked me up in a psychiatric hospital also. They will always bother me in the train station. Now you have some of their MTA workers coming to sit next to me, blowing their nose on the floor, spitting on the floor, smoking a very powerful scented cigarette. So this is something like really like a genocide, ethnic cleansing. And this Eric Adams introducing policies that have gotten his fellow people, Black Americans, killed in the past. Whereby I say a lot of Black Americans have been getting killed all over America when the police would wrongfully want to put them in a psychiatric hospital. One of the cases was a guy named Elijah McClain in Colorado. They said he was just walking on the street in Colorado, coming home from work, and the police said they want to go and lock him up because he was wearing too many. They said he was dressed in a jacket. Even though it was still November 2019. People still wear jackets in November. They said, the weather wasn't that cold, and because of that, they said somebody called, and it's called being a Karen. They said a lot of whites will sometimes, without being very racist, will call the police on a black person wrongfully, and they called the police on this guy for wearing a jacket, Elijah McClain, and the police choked him dead and injected him with psychiatric medication on the street and got him killed, ketamine. So a lot of Black Americans, they use try to use such method against me. If they hear a Black American was killed a particular way, they'll try to reenact it on me at Stanley Ferry. So this is getting dangerous. This is becoming more of an ethnic cleansing, type thing. And the police commissioner, I've been contacting that police commissioner on Instagram. I don't know what she told the Instagram. They've banned me now. Like, I no longer contact her on Instagram. I send messages to her. They're not helping me. So that's the police camera right there. So this is the World Trade Center. I'm standing. And this street is called Church Street by Fulton. So I need to investigate it. I'm right. This is a park. It's called the Millennium Hotel. Oh, they changed the name again. That was they call it M Social Hotel. M Social, and I'm sitting in the park. It's a park. It's open 24/7. I have anemia. I'm so tired. I don't even like, I usually walk around when I can. I just get so tired now with carrying my bags at the band carts. I used to use my stroller. I had a baby stroller. I used to put my bags in. They said the government banned that this year. It's like they see I have anemia, and to weaken me some more, they don't let me push my stuff in a stroller. So I get tired a lot. They're trying to kill me. Under the color of administering laws. They keep changing the laws on me. They say, only women with children can bring strollers. So the governor is corrupt, the mayor is corrupt, and I'm getting bothered. And there's this orange and white van, they're like the mental outreach. They're supposed to help you get housing, homeless shelter. I need to tell them, I communicate with them, they'll tell me they don't have hotel. I especially demand that I'll prefer a private room with no roommate and my own bathroom and shower. Because I have anemia, I have special dietary needs with anemia, and they're supposed to cater to your disabilities under New York law. At the time, they don't have such facility available. If it opens up, they'll let me know in the future. As I said, it's already occupied. In any hotel, even when they take down my name, they'll tell me all the hotel rooms has been. It's already fully occupied. As I was listening to this radio WABC, and the guy was saying good morning, and the guy was literally coughing next to me. So before my mother died, and this is like a religious cult activity, there was a Nigerian prophet. My mother used to go to the church. The name of the prophet was T.B. Joshua. So it was saying that anything you want to do it early in the morning. God told him in 2015. And my mother's daughter, went and started bothering my mother. And my mother was killed in the morning of 2015. So since then I began attacking early in the morning, getting taunted. So like a lesbian woman on the Stanley Ferry, a bathroom. Yesterday once I blocked the bathroom because she works there. I've been having like a lesbians taunting me, black American lesbian. I'm a gay Nigerian transsexual, so I believe that person may work for she has an orange, she looks like she's lesbian also. She's headed towards the car. They're supposed to be helping homeless get into housing, shelter. They call them the BRC. They wear orange uniform. And they just taunt me, even when they approach me and stuff, say they can help me with housing, and they say they want to take down my name to see if there's any open facility. They'll tell me there's no open facility. So they don't really try to help me as a Nigerian. There's some black Americans, would rather harm an African to retaliate for the slavery. They say white Europeans and black Africans sold their assistance to slavery. So I get taunted, they don't really help me. And like an MTA worker came around me, the transit service called MTA, and was smoking every cigar. I had a very nasty smell to it and was spitting all over the floor. So they form a collusion of white, black, that's the heavy spit. And they need to investigate it to taunt me. And I think eventually they want to get me beat up to death or, get their police to taser me to death. I'm a crazy African, They said they killed an African like that recently. His family said he normally goes to work as a sanitation worker, and his co-workers ran him over with a van and abandoned his dead body on the street here in Manhattan. And his co-worker claimed it was a crazy African that always bothers them. But the family of this African said no, he was working, it wasn't crazy. He was working with them on the job. So this is what is going on. So this needs to be investigated because nobody's allowed to maltreat somebody based on their nationality in America. So I've been getting maltreated. I'm a homeless Nigerian and the police commissioner is not helping me, and nobody's helping me, So my mother's been killed. She was saying she was being taunted also before she was killed here in Manhattan 2015. And they shouldn't make this Manhattan a place of killing people. I believe Diallo was killed here, another African was killed here, and none of these people get justice. My mother was killed in Manhattan. So do they want to rename this Manhattan as the bloodshed center for Africans where you can get away? So something's going on in this Manhattan, and this mayor, Eric Adams, also is based in Manhattan. So there's a lot of murders of Africans going on in this Manhattan. Across the street is the African burial ground. They call it the African burial. That's where they killed a lot of the African slaves that was killed during slavery. That's where they buried them, next to the Immigration Plaza. And when I went there yesterday, August 14, 2025, that's one of my mother's birthday, my mother's daughter's birthday, Plale. So any significant day like that, they have a gang that would attack me. So I was at across the street from the Immigration Plaza, on Broadway, there's, they said, so I was charging my phone and all of a sudden, this, the delivery drivers for the 7-Eleven store, they came next to me and one of them started blowing his nose into my bag. Sneezing and blowing his nose into my bag just to tell me he was trying to, he was trying to, he was trying to step on my bag also. He actually hit my bag with his leg. They do that also, like they're trying to fake an accident around me so that any money I get from the city of New York for the way my mother's daughters killed her in the city hospital, told the hospital to lock my mother up in a psychiatric hospital in 2015. Even though my mother wasn't crazy, I've been trying to sue for that. None of the lawyers in America will help me. Even this Trump said there's something in America that if more powerful people can block you from getting a lawyer, he said it happened to him also. That there were more powerful people than him here in America were blocking him from getting a lawyer, but because and that Trump, President Trump claims he has billions of dollars. Some people dispute his actual worth. He said but he was able to finally get a lawyer because he has billions of dollars. I'm in Nigeria, I don't have billions of dollars, and they're blocking him from getting a lawyer. This is criminal. This is ethnic cleansing. And they said Manhattan is the home of killing Africans and getting away with it. So they have so many black Americans that taunt me, like a black American woman wearing orange was dancing, they'll be dancing, taunting me. I don't know what that is about. And some people tell me that yesterday also, after that black American was blocking the bathroom, claiming she wants to clean it. Anytime I go there, she'll block all the bathrooms. Say somebody mess up the floor or whatever. I'm like, every time I come here, every day, somebody mess up the floor, you have to block up all the, lock up all the extra bathroom, and create a stampede, and then as soon as I got off the bathroom, a black American woman, police officer came into the bathroom. I was inspecting the bathroom I just used. So I don't know what is going on in the black American community, whereby they're using their police and their workers to try to taunt me non-stop as an African. This needs to be investigated, and the next mayor may be an African-born Indian, Uganda, Mandami, I'm sorry to mispronounce his name. And they said Trump is against someone like him becoming mayor. I don't know what they're trying to cover up, but they said a mayor has the power to appoint judges for the courts, criminal courts. So, so I'm hoping, this case, has to be investigated, because I don't know why they're forming a xenophobic gang of Trump, Eric Adams, and even the former governor Cuomo. They said they don't want that African to become mayor. You know, so I don't know what they're all covering up. But under that Cuomo also, they lock up all the bathrooms in 2020 to 2024. Governor Cuomo, the former governor was still Cuomo was the governor then. He's an Italian American, and I used to say, and this is how it started really, because anytime I go to use the bathroom after I became homeless in the train station, and after my mother died, I discovered they had bathrooms for customers in the train station, because I was homeless for a long time, and I discovered the bathrooms were always left dirty. They said, they always leave the bathrooms dirty in the train station to stop homeless people like me from using it. They said they've always done that for decades. So I started complaining, calling 511, and in retaliation, they went and I would take pictures of the dirty bathrooms, sometimes unflushed for many, many years, and the flies, anytime I go to use the bathroom in the train station bathroom, I would start having respiratory illnesses because of the decaying fecal matter. And a lot of people comment online that it's always been like that since the 80s and 70s. The train workers will leave the bathroom dirty to scare homeless people from using it. A lot of the homeless are usually poor blacks. So they treat us like nobody. So this has always been like that. It's like a racist type thing. And the station managers has always been white. So, they treat the poor blacks like a nobody. Now comes to the era of trying to kill poor blacks. Even the MTA CEO, after they killed that Jordan Neely, was a poor black American homeless person, and he said he went on and said, around the time they introduced a program to be locking us homeless up in a psychiatric hospital, and I guess to get proof that you're crazy, they'll try to drive you crazy. So a lot of the people that are associated with the transit service, like the black American workers that work at the ferry, they're aware of that program, and they've been hiring me as an African to get me abused that way, so they always try to start a fight with me and call their black American police. They said a lot of blacks die when the police is trying to take them to psych ward because the police is allowed to use maximum force against a homeless person. It's just like a criminal. Against a mentally ill person, it's just like a criminal. If they claim you're acting up, and they're misdiagnosing, us Nigerians. I met another Nigerian. He said they took him to the psych ward also after they found him on the subway. He was just homeless, and he said, my mother also, they put her in the psych ward. Our own daughters joined in framing my mother up in 2015. And since they saw that killed my mother, immediately the New York City introduced a program to be locking up homeless in the psych ward and killing them. And they were handpicked Nigerians like me. And FIFA wants to host the World Cup here. This Manhattan, they kill Africans here, and the Africans can't get justice. From Diallo to another African, they say was killed also, and frame up as crazy. I don't know if that African eventually got justice. I don't know. They say some of the sanitation workers he was working with ran him over with the sanitation truck and left his decaying body on the floor. Yeah, in Manhattan, so I believe it's in Manhattan. And I always get harassed in this Manhattan. So this has to be investigated. And also, this ABC radio, they're based in Manhattan. So around the time the guy was coughing and sneezing on the floor, the MTA worker, the ABC radio, they were saying good morning, and anytime somebody say good morning like that to me, I will get attacked, because apparently before my mother died in 2015, there's a Nigerian church, called TB Joshua Church. It's a very powerful church. A lot of people go there, and it was saying that 2015 is going to be a good morning year, that whatever you want to do, start doing it in the morning, that God would make you successful. That's the state, So that ABC radio starts saying good morning. I get attacked early in the morning. It's like they're just trying to use me as an experiment to see if it can successfully harm me like that TV Joshua said. But they said, whatever you want to do, start doing it early in the morning. So God will bless you. God will make that thing successful. And they killed my mother in 2015 early in the morning. My mother was saying, her daughters was trolling her in that hospital, Bellevue Hospital. And there was a Jamaican nurse there also that was mistreating my mother. I could overhear that Jamaican nurse mistreating my mother. My mother told that Jamaican nurse she wanted a body position change, because she's been laying in one position too long, and that's very dangerous to have a patient lay in one position too long. They had my mother on all kinds of medication in the ICU. Her daughter had been feeding her drugs, to kill her. And my mother was having heart attack symptoms, and she came all the way from Pennsylvania to go to that hospital in Manhattan to escape those daughters. And the daughters then joined up with her days later. Without my mother's permission, came to the hospital, which is against federal law. You can't just barge in on a patient. And they were trolling my mother, trying to get my mother upset, so that a medical condition can worsen, because my mother has a high blood pressure issue. As those came from Bologna and Florida, came from Pennsylvania. I was trolling my mother, and these Jamaicans decided to join in and pick on my mother. They said some Caribbean people don't like Africans either. So my mother, I was hearing my mother on a Sunday, some days before she was killed on May 20. So she was killed on May 20, which was a Wednesday. So Tuesday was 19, 18 was a Monday, May 17. I was on the phone with my mother, and I could hear the Jamaican nurse conversing with my mother. And my mother said she needs a position change. And the Jamaican nurse was like, my mother would have to be in that position for a long time because nobody would change their position. And my mother said, why can't the Jamaican nurse change their position? And the Jamaican nurse wouldn't change their position. So she has to wait for another person who went on lunch break. So my mother said, I'm going to file a complaint. My mother said, you Jamaican nurse, you're mistreating her. My mother, and I could overhear the conversation, and by Wednesday they told me my mother is dead. That they were trying to lock her up in a psych ward. I'm like, she's not crazy. You're the ones abusing her, and the daughters are the ones abusing her. So between her daughters and the hospital, they cover it up, so I won't be able to get justice. I told them I want an autopsy. They said the daughter said no. Because my mother was alleged, that daughter Bolani, said no, no autopsy. So between the daughters and the hospital, they're covering it up, because my mother wasn't, that daughter was feeding her drugs in her food, which would trigger the heart problem. Her condition she was having. She always had a heart issue, but she said she knows anytime that daughter gave her food, it will trigger the heart problem. And it's not uncommon for people that will kill somebody and blame it on the person's pre-existing condition. So I'm getting trolled. So that I guess to mock that Nigerian church, because the prophet is not dead. Prophet Joshua in 2015, he said, God told him, anything you want to do, start doing it early in the morning, and it will be successful. So early in the morning like that, they always try to bother me, try to get me killed early in the morning. And and the WABC radio, I always approach them like, can you please help me? Because I'm under FBI surveillance since my mother brought me in 2000, and I was arrested by immigration, saying children are not welcome in America. So they put me under FBI surveillance since 2000 for 25 years. The abusing process. Even though I finally got my green card 8 years later after they arrested me. But I said, once they put you in immigration surveillance like that, they'll forever leave you under surveillance. So the FBI also joins in to provide my location to people to troll me. So this van wasn't here before. They call them the BRC. Anywhere I'm at, they'll park their car near me. And they don't really help me. They just taunt me and troll me. So they call themselves Hope Health Home. And they're just a bunch of like high school dropouts or GED. But they tell them to watch out for mental illness signs in homeless. And to get the police to either put the person in a psychiatric hospital, that's why they say Hope Health Home, or or try to get the person housing. So I told them I have special needs. I'm anemic. I have low blood count, and I get tired a lot. And I'm supposed to be on special diet, and I'm supposed to be put in a room that has its own kitchen, so I can cook for myself. Because I have special dietary needs, and also that I don't want to be sharing the bathroom because I also have diarrhea. But instead, they will tell me we don't have all such rooms. They'll tell me it's already occupied. So they don't really help me with my needs, and they just throw me. And they just taunt me, and so I've been homeless for like 15 years. I'm nearly on the street, and I can't get no assistance. Lawyers won't help me for the death of my mother. And FIFA wants to bring the walk up here. My passport has been stolen. My mother's daughter stole my green card also. I was given 2 green cards by the immigration mistakenly. My mother held one for me, I held one for myself. When my mother's daughter was killed, the daughter stole all my belongings that my mother was keeping for me in her storage. including my extra green card and the other green card I had for myself. The police arrested me on 2019 as soon as the MTA began a program to be locking up homeless on the psych ward. You know, they formed that program to retaliate against me because I was documenting how dirty the bathroom is. It was starting to give me respiratory illness because they would leave the bathroom unflushed, unclean for years, backed up. So I'll call that 5 I'll take pictures of the dirty bathroom, put it in there, save it in my Google Drive. So I guess the FBI surveillance was able to see, look, this person is getting very powerful evidence against your transportation authority. Decided to retaliate against me, create a program to be locking up homeless in a psychiatric hospital. So in this country, the best way to render a witness non-effective is to claim the person has a mental illness or whatever, and claim the person is just making up stuff, and maybe claim the videos were doctored or whatever. So they created a program immediately to save themselves any legal liability, and it went and locked me up. They were having people throw me. Any bathroom I used, people would attack me in the bathroom. To carry all my bags stored in the train track. I'll call the police will arrest them. So I believe this Me Too group is involved. They claim to be the women empowerment group, but they say a lot of them don't like transsexuals and gays, and so they use that group to throw me. Even every day, anywhere I go, they'll hire these black Americans to tell me I'm going to be deported soon, throw me all day long, all night long. They say these are ways they kill people in this country. They'll try to get you angry and hoping you would react, and they'll start a fight with you, violent confrontation, and call the police to kill you. And then, so this Me Too group and some black Americans and some Americans of different races that are xenophobic attacking me as a Nigerian, and I can't get justice under this black American mayor, Ricardo. I contacted the prosecutor here, also black American. I've been bragging about it. It doesn't help me either. I send Instagram messages almost every day, but for the past 7 days now, they banned me on Instagram. Said I used too much of a strong language. I said, yeah, you can't block me from reporting a crime. So that Instagram needs to be under a criminal investigation and sued because there's the police and all kinds of investigative agencies that have accounts on that Instagram, and under the law in America you can't block somebody from reporting a crime. It's a crime by itself. So that Instagram has blocked me from coming online on their social media website, and I go there merely to report crimes to the police. So when I'm reporting a crime, I'm allowed to describe the crime as it is. So they have no power, a private organization, and they are also considered a public utility because they have more than 100 million account users, and most police agencies in the world have an account on that Instagram. So it's very easy to report, and a lot of organizations like the United Nations have an account in that Instagram. So it's very easy to report crimes through Instagram or to contact all these agencies online, because sometimes some of them don't even have valid websites, personal websites, but a lot of these agencies like the United Nations, NYPD, New York Police Department, they always post, their commissioner and a lot of this organization always post messages daily on their Instagram showing they're actively monitoring their web accounts on Instagram. And when I approach them for help online, they don't help me. So I'm being like this. Trump said the more powerful people in America can always block people they feel are less powerful. He said it happened to him personally, especially when he was out of office as president, when he lost to Biden. Before he came back as president again, he said he couldn't get a lawyer. So more powerful people can block you in America from getting lawyers. And he said because he has billions of dollars net worth, was finally able to get a lawyer. through because of his because of his financial means. So I, as a poor Nigerian, I don't have any billions of dollars, so they don't let me get any lawyer, and they deny me housing, and this has to be investigated, and they keep changing the laws on me, so to make me tired, so I carry all these bags on me, all my clothes tearing. So then to investigate this governor for joining with the police and some of the black Americans trying to hurt me, to create laws to make it easy. So the police should be throwing us homeless out of the you know out of the train. If we have a cart, like a stroller, which I normally use to carry my stuff. So it gets me so tired. I have wounds all over my body. So in case I get killed, no family member or friend should be able to administer my estate. I don't know why they're so hell bent on killing me. Because they see my mother's daughters are compromised. My mother is dead, my father is dead, so they see I wouldn't really have anybody to fight for me. So I don't want any money to go to any family. I've not been in good communication with my mother's daughters. They are very violent. My mother took them to Nigeria in 1980s, 88, and they were beating. The sister that apparently was very violent, was beating my mother. So my mother had her return to America to live with a white family by 1990. And when she got here, she beat up the white family also. She and her other sister Flora. So they had to put her in foster care. So she's always been very violent, that Belalin. So for over 25 years I've not, for a long time really, I've not really had any kind of communications, like real communications with her. So no family member or friend should administer my estate. I'm not really close to anybody. Only civil rights activists like me should administer my estate in case I'm killed. Use the money to get any assets in my estate should be used to get justice for me and my late mother, and the remaining assets should be donated to charity, to those suffering civil rights violations like me, and to those suffering xenophobia like me. People being deported by Trump should be prioritized for assistance with my estate in case I'm killed. And in case I'm disabled, because sometimes they try to run me over because, I'm not safe in any other country. I'm a Nigerian, but I would like to remain here in America because, my mother had family in Canada and England, but she said when she approached them, none of them was willing to help me and her. We were homeless. So she told me if she ever dies, I should just keep contacting strangers. And, no family would want to help me. I don't even. My father has family in England and elsewhere also, but my father was abusive to me in Nigeria, so I don't really trust my father's family. And also, since America is the crime scene, I would like to remain here in America. Not that it's safe for me, but because my mother was killed here, a guy helping me, Uganda, was killed here also, and I've been, so a lot of the witnesses are here in America. So I don't want to say you don't want to displace witness and evidence, And I don't really trust all these other countries. America has such a powerful influence on the world. Even South Africa, they were suing Israel for abusing the Arabs. And I contacted the South African embassy in last year, because after, the Russian airlines, the Russian military said, as soon as I sued the NYPD, and Uganda was trying to help him with the COVID first. Uganda was killed in 2014. A Russian military spy plane, so they saw an American bomber plane leave a German base and go to Nigeria in that 2014. And the Nigerian prophet said he saw a plane, like a military plane on top of his building, was just hovering around, and that plane blew up his building and went back left. And the Russian confirmed that plane went to Nigeria. They didn't know what it went to do in Nigeria, but left soon after it went to Nigeria. And there was a Nigerian church bomb. That was the church my mother used to go to in Nigeria. And they killed so many South Africans that go there to worship. A lot of international visitors go to that church to worship. Because that prophet Joshua always predicts. People believe he makes an accurate prediction. And one of his predictions is, before he also died, was that this was in 2014 that they bombed this church. As soon as Uganda was killed, even I rented a room here in 2014 on Staten Island. And somebody blew up that room also. Even Staten Advance did a report that most likely the landlord was involved in the fire because it was into insurance scam, and nobody helped me investigate. So that 2014 was all kinds of fire, bombing, killings. Associated with, around me. So that was affecting me and nobody would help me. And none of these cases got resolved. Eric Garner's dead. They let the killer walk free. My house was bombed. That's in 2014, close to where they killed Eric Garner, 219 Canal Street. That was my home, a room I rented then. And no justice. No, even though the Standard Advance, you know, did a report indicating that they have information that the landlord must have set the house on fire. It's like that, and then like Trump said also, said more powerful people can block justice in America, against a weaker opponent. So as a Nigerian, I can't get justice. And so and they had me on surveillance by FBI since my mother brought me in 2000. So the FBI, they said this ABC radio station in particular has a lot of FBI agents, FBI agents guarding their studios. They said apparently one of their radio hosts, Curtis Lewa, some people claim he was lying, said the Italian mafia is trying to kill him. So they assigned protection for him, the FBI agents protecting him. So I noticed they always make references to whatever is happening around me on their radio. So just now, today's August 15, 2025, around 3 a.m. As the guy came, the MTA worker came, was spitting all over the floor, was smoking a strong cigar. I didn't really look at him, I was under the umbrella. I suspect maybe. I always hide under the umbrella. Sometimes people send people to punch me and try to spit in my food. So I always hide under the umbrella. A lot of violence we almost experienced. And it was smoking a heavy scented cigar or whatever it was smoking had a very nasty smell and it was spitting on the floor. So so they abused me, don't assist me with any of my housing needs. All my ID have been stolen. Even the Nigerian embassy wouldn't help me. Nobody wants to go against America. They say you're going to lose badly because they don't fight fair. So my mother's been killed while I was suing the NYPD. The Nigerian church I used to go to, the Nigerian synagogue, has been bombed. Many Nigerians died. South Africans also there died. The only people that didn't die were the Americans visiting the church. They said the section of the church housing the Americans, that section didn't get bombed. But that plane bombed the section. They had Nigerians and South Africans. Like almost 300 Nigerians and South Africans died. So nobody wants to go against America because they say the government here doesn't fight fair. They love black Americans like Martin Luther King were assassinated for speaking about civil rights, and they're bringing that era back. They say the Martin Luther King family got money at last when they were able to prove in court that the FBI and the local police was involved in killing Martin Luther King, hiring the assassin. But they could only get $100 because they filed late under a law in South Carolina. Part of the plan was actually South Carolina. So this is what is going on. So FIFA, you gotta help me. I've been banned from the Instagram. That's why I've not been able to contact you. But I'm gonna, hopefully they would remove the ban so I can go back on Instagram. So their radio station was saying good morning, and around that time I was getting attacked. So sometimes before they attack me, they would say good morning, because that Nigerian prophet, said God gave him a prediction that whatever you try in the morning will be successful, and say people should keep saying good morning, and there are people attacking me and saying good morning. So that radio station, WABC, was, their radio host was saying good morning, and then an MTA worker was here spitting on the floor, so that's like a cult trying to use me as an experiment to see if they can just do anything to me and get away with it. So they always try to attack me early in the morning, in the bathroom, anywhere. So the world needs to help me in court, because none of the lawyers in America will help me for nothing. My mother's been killed, my house fire bombed, my friend helping me with my court papers, Eric Garner killed, and no lawyer will help me with nothing. And it's very hard for me dealing with all this without housing. And they said they should be locking us homeless up, framing mental illness owners. So, and the black American mayor, Eric Garner, is also joining it to block me. They said that there was a law passed that like other cities, this city, the legislature here, the city council in New York City, passed a law that homeless people should be able to get housing voucher. While you're homeless on the street, you can apply for a housing voucher and get it immediately, and go give it to the landlord. So other cities have been trying that approach, and it's been working. It's been reducing homelessness, like in Dallas, to almost zero. That's another thing. People putting their hands behind their back, like they're under arrest when they come near me, to tell me, and they have black Americans that will tell me so I'm going to be deported soon under Trump. So back to what I was saying. So this Mayor Adam blocked that housing voucher, even though they passed the law here in New York City to be giving us housing voucher, so that because a lot of us are homeless because we can't afford the rent. The rent can be as crazy as $3,000 a month for a single room with a bathroom and kitchen. Nobody can afford that $3,000 a month. Except you're super rich. They call them those kind of apartment studios, especially here in Manhattan. You could go for as much as $3,000 a month. So the housing voucher, the city council passed a law to make it possible for homeless people on the street like me to be able to apply and get a housing voucher. You can give to the landlord to pay for your rent. And I said this record and blocked it. They don't know why he blocked it, but it's the mayor. They said in the past, whites will block blacks, Americans from getting anything. So it's just using his power to block me, and that is illegal misuse of power under Section 1986. No authority figure or agent or agency can deny either under the color of law to abuse somebody based on the person's nationality. So they're having a lot of black Americans abuse me, and the Me Too gang, because I'm trying to get their lawyer arrested, Gloria Allred, because she wouldn't help me either. She said she helps me because the police sexually abused me and were kicking my mother out of her home. And that Gloria said she helps me. The police would drop the cases for a client like against R. Kelly and Weinstein, and said, she needs the police to convict those people in court so that she can make more money for a client. So she was bribing the police. So I guess, they have people that have interest in harming me so that, I don't get them put in jail. Like that Gloria Allred of the Me Too. So they're hiring black Americans to harass me, and like a black American lesbian start working the Stanley Fair as toilet cleaners. They don't let me use the bathroom, and I have diarrhea. They always try to block me, delay me, to get me to defecate it myself, so that it can be easy for their police to arrest me as a crazy person and beat me to death. See, normally here in America they beat crazy people to death. Their police and their civilians will just start a fight with you and beat you to death, and they'll claim in court that you're just crazy trying to fight everybody and you got overpowered, and that's your loss. So I have to buy anti-diarrhea tablet. I've been speaking for an hour now. This is what I have to do every day. I record. Thank God I have a cell phone, to record stuff. So I'm not part of any religious cult, So please, if anybody's watching my video on YouTube or anywhere, please, I would appreciate if you can donate money to me. My Cash App is NYC Homeless. Please donate to my Cash App, NYC Homeless. If you're watching my video on YouTube, it's very hard for me to post on Instagram now. They blocked me on Instagram. So this is what I'm going to. They're spitting at me, and they're exposing me to the most unhygienic condition. Some of them are their train workers, and there's a police camera across the street in front of World Trade Center. So if there's anywhere nobody should be getting away with a crime, it should be in front of the World Trade Center. They said on 9/11 some Muslim hijacked the plane and blew up the tower, the Twin Tower, I believe. So they're attacking right in front of the World Trade Center. It doesn't get much xenophobic than this. So it's an area called Fulton and Church Street. So so if they and this is the Freedom Tower. This is the shaped like a plane, bird, the wing of the plane that crashed into there. There's a lot of dead bodies here. They haven't fully identified yet. They said a woman's body was recently. They were finally able. It was so badly burned, but they were finally able to locate our family 25 years later to identify a body. So in front of the World Trade Center, I'm getting jumped as a Nigerian, and the security. A guy came in and was spitting on the floor. My mother was killed in Manhattan, So if they really care about justice, they need to investigate this. There's police cameras around. They bother me on the train, bother me everywhere. I say, homeless Nigerian. My mother was killed here in Manhattan. Bellevue Hospital. Our daughter was on drugs and was born here in America and was abusing my mother in the hospital. Told the hospital to lock my mother up in the psychiatric ward. Even though my mother's from Nigeria, she's not crazy, you know. And I wanted an autopsy done because my mother, while she was alive, she said the daughter was feeding her drugs to trigger her to have a heart attack, putting drugs in her food, and they wouldn't they wouldn't do an autopsy, you know. So this is very serious. If they can be attacking a Nigerian in front of the World Trade Center, I was at the Standard Ferry last night. They wouldn't let me use the bathroom. They had some of the workers there will go and block the bathroom stall. I have diarrhea. I'm a homeless Nigerian, and I had to wait and wait. And when I finally went to the store, they brought the police to come and inspect the store I just came out of. So I'm an LGBT Nigerian, and you know, so I came out. I took the out train to get off. I've been sitting here since last night, August 14, 2025. It's now August 15, 2025. And by 3 a.m., a guy came here and was spitting all over me, spitting on the floor, you know, and stuff. So this is what is going on. So this has to be investigated, because if there's any place in the world someone should be able to get justice after 9/11, it should be at this World Trade Center. So whatever's going on, and Alvin Bragg is the prosecutor, is not helping me. You know, they're all covering up, and I'm getting attacked as a Nigerian. My mother's been killed. Eric Garner is a black American helping me. He's been killed also. So if there's anywhere on Staten Island, where they killed Eric Garner, killed my mother in Manhattan. So, you know, this can't go on and on. So this is, you know, this is just ludicrous. You know, so I'm in front of the Freedom Tower. So the world, please, if you're watching this on YouTube, my cash app is NYC Homeless. I'm trying to go to court. There's a police camera recording this. They said this MTA may be hiring people to troll people that are homeless like me and get us angry, get us confrontational, and have us beaten to death, or the police should come and arrest us and kill us. There's a black American that's already been killed, Jordan Neely. They said he was angry that day, was talking to people on the train, that he's so fed up his own mother has been killed. I said, a white guy got behind him and choked him dead. And people are still wondering, was he intentionally set up? Was that just an accident? You know, and here I am, I'm another homeless person, black, you know, and an MTA worker came and sat here and was smoking and was spitting all over the floor, you know, and I was listening to the radio, and the radio host was saying, good morning, you know. I'm a Nigerian. I'm under the FBI surveillance. Since I was arrested by immigration in 2000, I've been under FBI surveillance. So there's a Nigerian church. The pastor said you should be saying good morning, that God will bless you for saying that. You know, so God said, you know, and so I've been under FBI surveillance. This, you know, ABC radio also, they said they have a lot of FBI agents working for them, protecting some of their staff. So I think that they're just using their surveillance to troll me. And as soon as the radio host at 3 a.m. this morning was saying good morning, there was a guy positioned here and was spitting on the floor. It was like, oh, you know, sometimes they'll be spitting into my bag. So this has to be investigated. If it's the FBI colluding to, they say they torture foreigners in Guantanamo Bay prison after 9/11. They were torturing a lot of foreigners. A lot of these foreigners will commit suicide. They said torture is very, even Martin Luther King. They said while he was campaigning for justice for his fellow blacks, they said this police and the FBI would ambush him, spray him with water, arrest him, you know. So this is very serious. You know, the slave trade ended 500 years ago. There's no reason for Africans or blacks to be treated like slaves. So they're spitting around me, hiring their government workers to come sit down next to me. I'm like, oh, you know, yesterday I was near the immigration office, 26 Federal Plaza. It's the next block over Broadway. You know, and this guy was spitting into my bag also as I was charging my phone. Then some of the immigration workers parked their car next to me, and the immigration officer was like watching me. Nobody has to be living like this, you know. So that they're abusing me excessively. This is not legal. I've lived in different countries. Nobody does this. And I'm near the Freedom Tower, and I've been contacting Alvin Bragg. the police commissioner on Instagram, they all ignore me, and now they're banned from Instagram. So they need to lock up that police commissioner. She's a white woman from Long Island, to let her know the slavery is over. The slavery is over, and you can't be jumping me with your Ku Klux Klan and your xenophobia gang, having them spit next to me. They're MTA workers, they'll come here and be spitting next to me and stuff. No. So I'm recording everything. The slavery is over. It is over. And so please donate to me. My cash app is NYC Homeless. I need to take them to court. I'm not their slave. I'm a Nigerian, I'm homeless. My mother was killed here. I'm not their slave. My mother was a US citizen also. She was a Nigerian. So she was able to get me a green card before she died. And they're going to take it from me. We're going to have to go to court. They've killed my mother, killed a black American up in Arizona. So we have to go to court before you take my green card. So let's go to court. Stop attacking me on the street. Stop being coward. Let's go to court.